everybody, this is Chris. I'm here in Rutland, Vermont with Jesse Savage. Jesse Savage Blacksmith.
Savage Forge.
Okay.
That's good. No, you're good. Just go with that.
I got to do it over.
Okay, do it over.
Okay. Everybody, this is Chris. I'm in Rutland, Vermont with Jesse Savage from Savage Forge, and today we're going to make an axe. And Jesse, before we get started, I just have one question for you.
Sure.
Do blacksmiths ever smile?
No, they don't.
Okay, because
Historically,
is that because your arm always hurts?
Yeah, you're just miserable as a human being. I don't know.
All right, let's go. Let's do this. Okay, Jesse, why don't you take us through what we're going to be doing today?
Okay, we're going to, this is like a 3-inch round of 4140 that I cut down to about an inch and a quarter. And we're going to forge that into a square, basically a big rectangle. And then we're going to, I lined it up and set up the center punch on each side. We're going to mark that on the anvil, and then we're going to punch through it. And when you punch that hole, that's about the amount of material you have.
Okay.
So, and then from that, we're going to forge out a little axe. Probably not a bearded axe like this is, but that's kind of what that hole turns into as you forge out those cheeks. And then, like, this is a bigger one that I did.
Wow, it's beautiful.
Yeah, it's kind of like a splitting axe more so than the smaller hatchet ones we're going to try to do today.
Okay. And so what I brought a couple of my axes. So this is what I do a lot of carving with my axe. So this is a carving axe I have. Sure. I got the flea market for like 10 bucks. This is one I got from a blacksmith. So what I like about this one, it's small, it's lightweight, good dimensions. What I like about this, it's got a curved edge on it, where this one has a nice wide angle on the single bevel. And so this helps pop the chip off a lot easier when I'm using it. So I like to get an axe that's about this size, but with a curved edge. So combine the best of both of these.
Awesome.
Okay, and then the other thing I brought is I just picked up this broad axe in perfect condition.
Giant.
It's awesome. I mean, it's razor sharp. I don't know if it's ever used, but you can see here, this is where they folded in the... So
that's the forge welded, that's the high carbon bit.
Okay, and this one, this steel is...
It's all one steel. I've done that high carbon bit's great, but what happens is you get, like with these,
you get the
as
mushroom.
You're striking that back end, it mushrooms more. I mean, this could mushroom a little bit because of basically when you heat treat it, you're going to harden that edge more so than you are the back. But it's going to be a lot. It's going to take the abuse a lot better than that.
Okay. All right. Well, let's get started.
Okay.
Can't wait.
Awesome.
Because it's so loud in the shop, I'm going to be doing most of the narration for Jesse. The reason we're starting with a standard 3-inch stock is because 4140 steel is expensive, so it's much cheaper to buy a standard stock and work it down than to try and buy a specialty size. We're working this down to 2 inches by 4 inches by 1 1/4 inches. Throughout the day, we're going to be continually hot brushing off the scale. The scale is a byproduct of the forging process when the steel oxidizes. We brush off the scale so it won't forge back into our material and show in our finished product. Keith Mitchell from Shipwright Skills was nice enough to join us today. Keith is an incredible artisan and maker. I've included his Instagram information in the description section below. We're using a small center punch to get the hole started where the axe handle will go. I'm not excited at all.
Go like not very hard, and I'll tell you this, you probably have to hit a little bit harder than light, but light's always better. Okay. Because you can always hit it twice.
Now we're using a larger punch to stretch out the hole.
Okay. Okay.
If you don't have a power hammer or press, this would be the approach to drive a hole in the metal. One way to make it easier is to put coal dust in the hole. This lubricates it and keeps the punch from getting stuck. When punching a hole through, you're both pushing it and shearing it. Sometimes the piece will get stuck and you'll need to knock it out.
So you know what it is. Where's that short? So basically, I just want to stretch this hole. The back of this is the fatter part.
Now we're stretching the hole out with a drift tool. Driving the drift in from the top and then the bottom, and then hitting it on the anvil on both sides will ensure the hole is stretched out in all directions. This will eventually lead to an oval-shaped eye that the handle will go into. I'm not sure what's more impressive, the hole we just punched in the metal, or Jesse's mustache. Now it's my turn. And yes, it's very humbling not to have any idea what you're doing. Say when.
Yeah, hold on to that top part.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, just set those down. That's your handle. Now flatten it on there. Yeah, right there. Okay, that's good. Knock it out. Or knock it out in the swedge. Just tap it from the bottom. No. Okay. Now, like, flip that thing at the tongs.
Yeah! Woo! Now we're using a fullering die that's a rounded shape. That's going to spread the hole out even further and also thin the metal on the side of the axe. Once complete, you go back and insert the drift from the other side and do the same thing, so it's even. Now we're both straightening out the top while at the same time installing a rounded bottom called a cheek. This rounded shape will prevent cracking on the wooden handle.
Just make sure I'm taking that hole.
This cupping tool will protect the rounded cheeks.
So that's the axe shape. That's the bottom here, or the bottom cheek. And then we're going to pull her in here, and then after that we're going to draw out this mass.
Okay.
And then we'll draw it this way, and then we're going to draw all that material down that way.
The power hammer will draw out the mass of metal to form our axe. It has fullering dies installed, and we're going to steer the metal in the direction we want it to go. We just want to stay away from the hole. Like right here?
Yeah.
Pretty good. And then just draw it out.
Yeah. Don't go there. Yeah. Good. Okay. Back, you can flip it over. Yep. Good. Yep. Okay, don't worry about it. You just gotta squeeze it to hold it.
Do it again?
Yep.
It's a lot of hard work to maintain the hole throughout the process, so we have to continually drive the drift back in to maintain the hole.
Okay. Here, get that in there a couple times. Very good.
To establish the single bevel, we use the top tool flatter and striker to move the mass of metal to one side. We could have done this with the press in one go, but instead we enjoyed smacking the out of this metal for about an hour. We continually use the drift tool to maintain the handle hole dimensions. The forging process is complete. Vermiculite is a material that's super insulating and allows the steel to cool down very slowly. This softens the metal, making it easier to grind the edges and finish it. It's also easier to harden it later. Okay, so what's next?
It's got to sit in there for 24 hours.
I had to head back home, so Jesse completed the work on day 2. Here he's grinding in the single bevel and cleaning up the rest of the axe.
Then I'm going to heat treat it in my gas forge. I'm going to preheat the oil so that when you quench the steel in it, it's not going to be shocking for the steel. It's an oil quenching steel 4140. It's not a water quenching steel like a 1045 would be. So I've just got this lump of metal here. I'm going to heat up my oil with it. So I'm going to heat the back of the axe up so that the heat basically draws down through the edge. I don't want to put it straight in the forge and overheat that edge.
It's important to heat the axe evenly and completely. Once the large, thick mass at the back of the axe is heated up, then you can place the whole axe inside, again making sure it's heated evenly and completely.
So I've got a heat on it, so I'm going to heat up that edge.
You're watching the metal to rise to a dull red, barely orange. That's the right temp to quench for 4140 steel. It does vary by steel, but it's very important not to overheat it. You want the tip of the axe to be the hardest, so it maintains a sharp edge. This is why you quench that first. You slowly let the rest of the axe cool before you dunk it. This makes the metal slightly softer, so when you strike the back of the axe it won't shatter. At this point, all the molecules are pulled together. It's very fragile, so you want to temper it right away. Tempering will relax the molecules back a little bit, strengthening the steel. This can be done by heating the oven to 425 degrees and placing the axes inside for 1 hour. Although it's not necessary, Jesse turns the oven off after an hour and leaves them inside overnight.
That's it. Woo!
Beautiful. Now it's time for a handle. Savage Forge makes a variety of high-quality axes, so if you'd like Jesse to make one for you, I've included all his contact information in the description section below. Hey, thanks so much, man. This has been great.
Yeah, awesome.
Jesse Savage, Savage Forge, axe making. Thank you. You're smiling right now. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Take care.
Thanks for coming.
You betcha.
Yeah.